Yes, it's already
All right.
recorded.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mutia. And then, all right, ladies and gentlemen, in this webinar, we have the topic, Be a Better Global Citizen through Intercultural Communication. The first speaker will be delivered. The materials about understanding intercultural miscommunication is a must-have skill. The material will be delivered by Jiljian New. For Jiljian, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Moderator. Hello, guys. I'm Zildian Yurindam Zelani. I'm here as the first speaker for this particular meeting. I'm gonna tell you guys how understanding an intercultural miscommunication is a must-have skill. Okay. Let's take a look at this, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and so on. There's a lot of news about misunderstanding in this world. Misunderstanding is happening everywhere in this world. And we are living in a society that where misunderstanding is our biggest enemies for the society. So what is misunderstanding? It is one of the biggest challenges of humankind. And then Chunha in 2009 said that an understanding of something that is not correct, it's called misunderstanding. And then we have Trump in 1996 stated that miscommunication is one of a particular case of a lack of alignment of agents' mental state. Specifically, one of in which they diverge on the occurrence of results of communication. So, and then intercultural communication. What is it? What is it actually? What is this intercultural communication? It is a communication between people with a different cultural identities. University of Minnesota in 2016. And then guys, what is culture? Why we are talking about culture? And what is it actually? Culture is the ongoing negotiation of learned and patterns, beliefs, attitudes, values, and behavior. University of Minnesota in 2016. And then intercultural miscommunication. We are talking about something in today's world that intercultural communication has become a need for every human being in this world, which is a misunderstanding is happening almost everywhere in this world and anywhere, just anytime. They don't know a time. Since most people assume to other think, behave, and perceive the world around them like they do. In this case, in implicit personality theory. And this can lead into a misunderstanding and even a result in unintentional conflict. You know, guys, sometimes the conflict just doesn't know a time or a place at all. It just happened. And one of the problem is because a miscommunication. And then Hinner in 2017 stated that intercultural misunderstanding involve a number of complex causes, which can easily escalate into conflict. And culture can be one of the cause for such misunderstanding. And guys, I want you to know some things that can cause a misunderstanding. It is implicit versus explicit communication. You know, when you are talking with your partner, and then your partner just uh, told you something implicitly, but you are taking it explicit. It could cause some misunderstanding between you and your partner. And then we have the next one, we have written versus verbal. It is true that written is different than a verbal conversation. When someone texts you and you are getting it wrong, maybe there are some misunderstanding in it. And then the next one, we have competitive conversation form. Competitive conversation form is just like a debate, one and another. It could escalate into a conflict. And then for the next one, we have poor listening skills. Yeah, poor listening skills can lead into such a conflict of misunderstanding. And then the next one, poor speaking skills. The next one, we have a misaligned lingo, where you put a conversation, but you are not in a place to do that conversation. And then the next one, we have a messy thinking. When you are having a messy thinking around you, just you have to understand the cause of it. It could escalate into a conflict and cause misunderstanding. The last but not least is faulty definition. When your definition is different than your partner, it could escalate into some conflict. Guys, I have quotes for you. To think justly, we must understand what the others mean. So if you want your conversation is uh, better with your partner, just try to understand what they mean, what they really mean. Then the next one, how to avoid misunderstanding. I have some uh, ways to avoid this misunderstanding. First of all, open. Ask an open-ended question. What is open-ended question? The open-ended question is where you and your when you just ask an open question without some option to your partner, so your partner could answer it right just uh, with their own knowledge. Okay, and then the next one we have reflect. Reflect back what you heard. If you are just talking to someone and then he replied or she replied, just reflect for a while. Okay, then the next one, silence, allowing the person an opportunity to speak. Allowing the others uh, participant to speak in your conversation, it has a good things in it. It can avoid some misunderstanding between you and the partner you speak to. And then the next one, summarize the conversation of the feedback. You can summarize the feedback of your conversation with your partner. And then next one, we be sensitive. Just be sensitive when they giving you a feedback about what you have talking. And then the next one, over some ideas and suggestion. Last but not least, own the plan. Make sure when they leave that conversation, they are taking responsibility of what you and the action of what they're going to put in play. So guys, it is easy, right? Or is it just hard?
I'm
Just
sorry,
keep
Jiljian,
practicing
your
those skills.
time
Yes,
is around
thank you.
to be over.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Keep practicing those skills and you'll become a better communicator. I believe that you are practicing. I believe that practicing will not killing you. And I believe that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Thank you so much, everyone. That's from me. Over to you, moderator.
All right, thank you so much, Jiljian, for your great presentation related to miscommunication as a part of intercultural communication. All right, as we know, maybe this is something new for all the participants in here in intercultural communication. We know about identity. This is very related into the material that will given by our next speaker with the topic, have you ever wondered where you got your identity? Let's find out together. The material will be delivered by Mutiara Putri Aulia. For Mutiara, time is yours.
All right. Thank you for the moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Mutiara Putri Aulia. I'm a student of English Education Department, Siliwangi University. In this occasion, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered where you got your identity? So let's find out together. Next. Anyway, what is that identity? Chloe Hart 2018 says that identity at its core is the understanding of what someone or something is. In other words, identity is how a person is recognized or understood both by himself and by others. This understanding consists of two parts that cannot be separated, namely personal identity and social identity. Martin and Nakayama 2010 defined it that personal identity is who we think we are and who others think we are. Meanwhile, social identity theory, according to Teichfeld and Turner, 1979, is that individuals tend to do social categorization and identify themselves into certain categories that have the same characteristic as those in themselves. Next. Now let's move to the part how we get that identity. The first is from society. In fact, our society has begun to shape a person's identity through categorization and labeling over the years based on expected traits and behaviors. These characteristics are based on appearance such as gender, skin color. Others include ethnicity, religion, financial status, and social. In line with the theory of Teichfeld and Turner, that's also how society shapes our social identity by classifying it based on certain characteristics, which ultimately affect how a person is seen and identified both by himself and by others. The second is family. Family has a significant impact on the formation of our identity because they are the first people we met. We consciously and unconsciously look to our family in the formation of our identity. In the family, we can embody the title son, daughter, brother, or sister. How strongly we identify with this label is influenced by the level of support or conflict we receive from our family. The next is social media, personal interest, and self expression. Social media can be one of the influences in identity construction because communication and virtual environments allow a person to form their own identity according to what they want others to see. Let's move to the next slide. I am known by my friends as someone who really likes the color pink, love to write, love to travel, and love to eat. Why can I say that? Because I post it all on my social media. So what my friends recognize about me is what they see. What they see is what I post, and what I post is what I want others to recognize me as that. So from here, social media has been one of the factors that shape my identity based on my personal interest and self-expressions. Besides the influence of social media, the identity attached to a person is the result of adoption by that person. Next. Many theories state that people tend to behave in accordance with their self-conceptions, both as individuals, as stated by Deci and Ryan 2000, and as group members, as stated by Turner et al. 1987. Similarly, according to Sparks and Guthrie 1998, for example, healthy eating habits have been shown to identify themselves as health-conscious consumers. Next. In conclusion, social interaction, both virtual and real life, can affect the formation of our identity. Both personal identity and social identity is about how we are recognized and understood both by ourselves and by others. And how our identity is formed is also influenced by our desire for validation from a group in society. Next. Yes. So here are some references I got for this presentation. Thank you for attention. Back to moderator.
Thank you very much, Mutiara, for your great presentation. All right, everyone, all participants have already know that everyone is unique. Everyone has a specific difference that can make a specific things in their self that can make she or his being a unique one, unique human being. All right. When oneself can has an identity, a country or a region, of course, has the unique thing. This is very related into the materials about every country has different cultures. The material will be delivered by Akmal Taufikur Rahman. For Akmal, please.
Thank you for Miss Moderator. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akmal Taufik Rahman. And in this special occasion, I would like to share my paper. And the title is Every Country Has a Different Culture and How It Is Work. So in this special occasion, I would like to share the impact of this cultural difference. I'm sorry, I can share my screen. Anyone can help me?
Okay, for another presenter, you can help Akmal for sharing screen, please. Muti, can you sharing the screen?
I need to permission from host Teh. Maybe Ziljian
All
can.
right. Anissa, please. Anissa, can you hear my voice?
I'm sorry, Anisanur. Anisanur, can you help us to send the host to Akmal?
All right. I'm sorry. We should wait Anissa first.
I'm so sorry, Teh. I don't know that I'm the host of this Zoom, so udah di allow kok.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Anissa.
For Akmal, please
All
continue your presentation.
right. Sorry for the disturbance. Let's get started. So, according So according to the monks, every culture, I'm sorry, according to Anthony Cohen, every person or social community in every country around the world has a culture as their identity. This culture including how they get dressed, how they behave, and how they interact in society. Every culture is different and has its own unique characteristic. And this cultural difference make a beautiful variation around the world. But this cultural difference could lead us to some phenomenon. This phenomenon is a culture shock. According to Sonjamans in 2003, culture difference is one of the factors that may cause the cultural shock. So, what is the cultural shock? Cultural shock is anxiety that result from losing all of our familiar signs or cues of social intercourse. These signs or cues include the thousand and one way in which we orient ourselves to the situation of the daily life, such like attitude when we meet people, what we say when we meet people, how to ask for help, how to make purchase, and how to respond with some question over in 1954. So in other words, culture shock is anxiety that happens when we visit another country and meet a different culture and we can't handle with that cultural difference. For example, we as Indonesian go to America for a study purpose, but the culture, the attitude, the way of life of American are different from what we expect and make us uncomfortable and get anxiety. So what will we get when what happen when we get the culture shock? According to Pacific education, the first thing you will get, the first thing you will feel from culture shock is the extreme homesick because you feel uncomfortable with this cultural difference. And this will make you feel depression and get unstable emotion, which it lead to sleep and eating disturbance. And this will cause a physical illness like diarrhea and headache. So how to avoid the culture shock? According to Amy Chang on his article, there are at least 5 ways to avoid or at least reduce the effect of the culture shock. First, first is avoid stereotype. If you are being stereotyped to some country, you will be surprised when you see that the culture are different from what you expect. Next is you have to be open-minded. It means you have to expect that you will find a different culture and a different attitude from the country you will to go. Next is realize that you have to adjust yourself with situation and it will need a time for doing so. Next is that you have to prepare to get the homesick because this situation. And the last thing is you have to understand the local culture. In this point, you will need the company from your local friends. So the conclusion of my occasion is every person around the world has a different culture as identity. If you can't handle this culture different, you may experience a culture shock, which will make you uncomfortable and getting stressed. So you need to be open-minded and prepared for this cultural difference.
I'm sorry, Akmal, your time about to over.
All right. So this is the references I use. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, thank you, Akmal, for your nice presentation. All right, all the participants, I hope you are still in your great spirit today. I'm so sorry with any technical difficulties, like be a barrier in your uh, into your mood in joining this great webinar. All right, we are going to the next presenter. It is about culture shock. Do you feel it? All right, this material will be delivered by Imam Al-Fatah. For Imam, time is yours.
All right. Thank you for the moderator. Yeah. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are listening healthy. And firstly, let me to introduce myself. My name is Imam Al-Fatah. I am a student at Siliwangi University, Tasikmalaya, West Java. All right. In this webinar today, I would like to speak about culture shock. Do you feel it? We know that there are 1,340 tribes or ethnic in Indonesia, according to Badan Pusat Statistik Indonesia in 2010. Uh, and I'm sure that all of you attending in this webinar today, we have different culture. And according to the expert, Taylor, British anthropologist, 1870, Cart said that culture is that complex wall which includes the knowledge, belief, art, moral, law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. So what is culture shock? Maybe every people settle, who will settle in an area that having a different culture from his native culture, he would experience cultural differences that maybe some people might find it very difficult to adapt to the culture that found in their new place. And that's called culture shock. Some people need a long time to really adapt it in in their new culture. Uh, Culture shock is a sense of anxiety, depression, or confusion that results from being cut off from your familiar culture, environment, and norm when living in a foreign country or society. Khalifa Albert, Khalifa Albert would coin the term culture shock in the mid 1950. Defines culture shock as the absentee that results from losing all our familiar signs and symbols of social intercourse. Uh, the symptom of culture shock is truth based on the stress and the concept of integrated physic formation. They are divided into behavioral, somatic, and physiological symptoms. Physiological symptoms of culture shock are differentiated on the basis of affective, regulative, communicative, and reflective physic formation. And the barriers of communication between cultures are like icebergs, which are a big problem but are invisible because it is hidden underwater. So it means we cannot see the problem, the big problem from communication between cultures. Uh, but we can feel it. Uh, Kenny and Martin, 2004, states that physical, cultural, factual, motivational, experiential, emotional, diverse, nonverbal, and competition, they all are the obstacle from culture shock. And this is all of the references that maybe you can read about culture shock or to understanding more about culture shock. And maybe this all for me. Thank you very much. And anyone who have a question that can contact me on my WhatsApp number or my email. Thank you very much. Be back to the moderator.
Alright, thank you, Imam Malfata, for your presentation. All right, everyone in here, all the participants types in intercultural communication. Why? It will be delivered for this.
Okay, thank you for the moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are in a good condition. Thanks for coming to this webinar. Okay, let me introduce myself first. My name is Devina Fitri, and in this occasion, I'd like to explain about intercultural communication with the theme stereotypes in intercultural communication. Why? So, I'm sure that all of you have ever heard about what is stereotypes and what is intercultural communication, but let me explain it first. So, stereotypes. Stereotypes is a cognitive process in that it involves associating a characteristic with a group, but it can also involve lead to or serve to justify an effective reaction towards people from other groups. Next is intercultural communication. Intercultural communication is the study and practice of communication across cultural contexts. So, um, this is can recalling your mind. You can remember again about what is stereotypes and intercultural communications. And next is indication of the cause of the stereotypes. So there is several indications why there is stereotypes in intercultural communication. Number one is belief. According to Stanger, this belief can be based on a number of variables ranging from gender, social orientation, level of education, and social class to nationality stereotypes originate from social categorization. Next is ignore their individual trait. So, according to Holiday, whether by ignore their individual traits, impose a certain interpretation on them, and reduce our view of them to a simplified image. And next is social categorization. According to Stanger, we could likely not do without social categorization. It occurs naturally and is not limited to people. So this is a several indication why there is stereotypes in intercultural communication. So here, I will give you guys a sample case of stereotypes in Indonesia, especially. Number one is bad behavior of the Papuan peoples, starting from people who like get too drunk, gamble, make noise. This is evenly distributed to all Papuans. It affects all Papuan people. Even, for example, when someone want to get to study to another place, they will find it difficult to find homestay or shelter. And the second example is the dreadlocks phenomenon that occurred in Surakarta has received various comments and many are considered bad. So, in Surakarta, when someone have a dreadlock, people will assumes that that people is bad. That's the bad view of people with dreadlocks in Surakarta. They will be like down you, and the people will think bad of them. So, the last is The conclusion of this presentation is number one, lack of individual understanding of other individual cultures. Number two is lack of open-mindedness to other people's culture. So we have to open our minded that there is a lot of cultures in Indonesia, especially. Number three, it is easy to judge something only at a glance, not as a whole or in depth. Number four is lack of insight into the cultures of various countries in the world. Number five, the last, it is easy to get carried away by other people's views about our cultures. Okay, so this is the references that I use to support my presentation today. Thank you so much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Devi Novitri, for your presentation. All right, everyone, we have already listened into Devi's presentation. It's about stereotypes in intercultural communication. And right now, we will listen. It's still stereotypes, but in another perspective. It will be delivered by Yuni Rostiani with the title Stereotypes as Excuses to Commit Discriminatory. All right, for Yuni, time is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you in good condition. I am Yuni Rastiani. In this occasion, I would like to present about stereotypes as excuses to commit discriminatory acts. Next. Okay, here are the table of contents, which consists of 4 parts. The first part is about definitions of stereotypes and discrimination. The second one is how can stereotypes happen? The third is why stereotypes can be said to be acts of discrimination. And the last is conclusion. Next. So, what is stereotype? According to Samovar and Porter in Mulyana 2000, page 218, stereotypes are perception or beliefs that are about groups or individuals based on their opinions and attitude formed first. This belief is a judgment that tends to be negative and even demean others. Next. What is discrimination? According to Wilmore, discrimination is defined as any distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference based on race, color, descent, or national or ethnic origin, which has the purpose or effect of nullifying or interfering the recognition, enjoyment, or exercise on an equal footing of human rights and fundamental freedoms in the political, economic, social, cultural, or any other field of public life. Next. How can stereotypes happen? There are 3 factors of stereotypes. The first is social environments, such as families and communities in residential neighborhoods have a major influence on the formation of both stereotypes. As explained in the theory symbolic interactionism regarding the concept of self and society, that the environment groups that show symbols influence the assessment of the individual. So there will be a tendency to the same actions as the group. Next, sorry. The second is individual experience factors that make up the informant stereotypes. According to psychologist George Kelly, experience is created by the way we interpret events, and everyone is different from each other in instructing events. Experience consists of the interpretation of event continuously. And the last factor is a more intimate personal contact factor. Next. Okay, why stereotypes can be said to be acts of discrimination? According to the video, Houston, Glick, and Esses, 2010, page 8, the reason why stereotypes can be said to be acts of discrimination because stereotypes are cognitive structures that systemically affect how people perceive, process information about, and respond to group members. While stereotype can lead to discrimination, discrimination can also exacerbate stereotypes. Next. So the reason why our stereotypes sometimes used as excuses to commit discriminatory acts are because of the emergence of thought that comes from the way humans process information around it. To process what is happening around it, humans put it in several categories. And also because stereotypes are cognitive structures that systemically affect how people perceive, process information about, and respond to group members. Next. Here are the references that I have used on this presentation. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Back to moderator. Thank you.
You're welcome, Uni. Thank you for your presentation. All right, everyone. We have the materials. It's about racism. With the topic, the power of the N word in terms of racism and our existence as an educated human being. It will be delivered by Winda Grisela. For Winda, time is yours.
All right, thank you for the moderator. All right, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before that, I want to ask, is my voice clear?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys always in happy and healthy condition. My name is Winda Grisela, and I'm from English Education Department, Siliwangi University. And at this time, I would like to present to you about the issues that are often encountered in the community all over the world that prompted me to bring the title, The Power of the N-Word in terms of racism and our existence as an educated human being. All right, next. Here are some highlights that will be discussed today. I will define racism itself first, and then define the N-word and how it impacts people. And the last is the solution to this problem. Next. All right. The N-word is always associated with racism, but I would like to define what is racism exactly. According to Leroy's 1932, racism is a system which affirms the superiority of one racial group over the others. And then Regal identified racism as an ideological scientific system which divides the contemporary human species into subspecies, resulting from separate development and endowed with unequal approach aptitudes. Miscegenation with these inferior subspecies could only result in health rates inferior to the favored race. As we can see, none of these definitions deals with behavior. All of these refer to the system, but society has come to think that racism refers to bad behavior. Next. So what is exactly the N-word? Bernard defined the N-word as nigger and nigga. In English, the word nigger is the term used most often against Black people, especially African Americans. It's called the N-word because it is commonly considered offensive. It is also referred to nigga, used by African Americans among themselves. Next. And then why the N-word always associated with racism? How is it impacts people? Adam Cherry claimed on his essay that the N-word reminds someone of the past struggle someone raised and creates anxiety in his own life. Even whites in the novel often use the N-word to express anger about situation. N-word is used by whites to reinforce the role of blacks as people who obey orders. The worst is racism can cause trauma. By definition from Pons on his article, trauma leaves person feeling hopeless, helpless, and feeling for safety or survival. It is the victim's perception of the experience that defines trauma. Nigger is fine if spoken by Black people to Black people, but it's different when white people say it. Next. Then, how to overcome this matter? We, as educated people, must have a role in eradicating racism. Nubia mentioned that one way to overcome racism is to replace people's beliefs and ideas through education and information. Providing information can be through many things. For example, we can use our social media to spread the awareness of this racism. So, it is necessary to increase understanding of cultural awareness and social awareness among us. But one last thing I want to say, racism is not a casual thing. Be aware of this kind of thing, and if we can change if we can't change people's mindset, we can help by changing our own mindset first. Next. This is the conclusion of this presentation. The N-word is considered offensive and a form of racism because people already think that way. The way to overcome it is to change the people mindset and the community mindset by educate ourselves first and spread the information about racism to another. Next. Here are some references that I got for this presentation. So thanks for your attention. Back to moderator.
All right, Winda, you have already presented your presentation. I'm so sorry because I lost my connection. All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. All right, everyone in here, let's go to the next presentation. It will be delivered by our speaker, Shelfie Susanto, with the topic, Does bullying occur among children too? For Shelfie, time is yours.
Thank you for the moderator by giving me the time. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I start my presentation, let me introduce my name first. So my name is Shelfie Susanto, and on this occasion, I will explain about does bullying occur among children too? Bullying, it is a word that is really familiar in our daily lives, right? I'm sure that you've all already heard about bullying before, but we want to know what is actually about bullying. Next slide. So, bullying, according to Barron 1977, is an aggressive behavior as behavior that is directed towards the goal of harming or injuring another living being who is motivated to avoid such treatment. Bullying itself has three critical components. The first one is repeated action or threats. The second is power imbalance. And the third or the last is intention to cause a harm, whether it is physical or emotional. Bullying occurs among children too. According to Dr. Romanowski, that argued all children born with a temperament, or we can call it as a pre-wired native, that we can change, although it is really hard. The temperament started when the children were babies. Some babies are more assertive about letting you know what they need, and the other babies are more retiring and wait until you can take care of them. So bullying occurs among children too, and bullying is a common and potentially damaging form of violence among the children. Next. There are two types of bullying among children. The first one is children who are more kind, although there are in a risk for becoming bullies. And the second type is children who are more shy and less of a risk for becoming the bullies. And those characteristics lead to a tendency to be the bullying types. And those are the types of bullying. Next. Bullying is such a negative action that can lead to a negative consequences for children who are bullied. There's a host of negative consequences who are bullied. The first one is high rates of anxiety. For the children who got bullied, they will get such an anxious feeling because maybe they will feel afraid if they meet or they see the bullies that bullied them. Second is depression. The children who got bullied will get depression, maybe if they cannot express their feeling or they can tell the story about their bullying events, the bullying that happened to them. So it can lead to the depression. The third is school absenteeism. The children who got bullied will lead to a school absenteeism because maybe they got bullied in school, so they will feel afraid to see a school and they will see the school as a such terrible place for them, so it can lead to a school absenteeism. The fourth is school phobias. For the children who got bullied, the children will feel that the school is such not a safe place to them, so they will feel afraid to go to school, so they will get the school phobias. And the last is post-traumatic stress symptoms. For the children who got bullied, they will always remember the terrible event that happened to them, so it will cause them a post-traumatic stress symptoms. Next. Adults' important role. Bullying is not a problem that children can solve by themselves. In this case, adults, especially their parents, need to intervene. The first priority for parents to have is to engage in a constructive conversation. Parents also need to recognize the children. It is according to Crowder's 2013. And parents also need to recognize and avoid their children from the bullying behavior by give them education that they need to learn and hold on their temperament. So the adult's important role that is really important is to engage good communication between the parents and the children, so the children will feel safe and feel that there are adults who are care for them, so um, they will uh, they will avoid the bullying action, or they will avoid from being the children who got bullied. Next. In conclusion, bullying among children does occur, and it can be more dangerous than the usual form of bullying that occurs among adults because the children are still not fully aware of what they are doing. So the parents have a really important role in this issue to avoid their children for being the bullies or the children who got bullied. So the main point is a good communication. Next. And here are my references that supported my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Back to the moderator.
All right, thank you, Shafi, for your presentation. All right, all the participants, we have the last speaker here, sharing Bunga Permata with the topic bullying among school children. For sharing, time is yours.
Okay. Okay, thank you to the moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sherin Bunga Permata, and here I will convey to you about bullying among school children. First, before I go to the topic, I want to ask you, do you know that nowadays there are a lot of bullying among school children? So, what is school bullying? According to Always 1993, school bullying is repeated negative ill-intentioned behavior by one or more students directed against a student who has difficulty defending himself or herself. School bullying also recognized as a global problem and sparks public concern for student safety because it is an everlasting problem in the lives of school kids that affect all students, the person who bully, who are victims, and the person who witness to the interpersonal violence. Dr. Monanovic stated there are four types of school bullying. The first one is physical bullying. It can include hitting, kicking, tripping, pinching, pushing, or damaging property. Physical bullying also can cause both short-term and long-term damage. The second is verbal bullying. Verbal bullying can include name calling, insults, teasing, intimidation, racist remarks, or verbal abuse. And it can escalate to levels which start affecting the individual target. The third is social bullying. Social bullying is designed to harm someone's social reputation or cause humiliation. Social bullying can include spreading rumors, physical gestures, playing nasty jokes, mimicking unkindly, and damaging someone's social reputation. The last is cyberbullying. We may have often heard about this type of bullying. Cyberbullying can be offered or covered bullying behavior using digital technologies, including hardware such as computers and smartphones, also software such as social media, text, website, and other online platforms. Indeed, all the victims of bullying can happen to anyone, but only the most common in children aged 10 until 15 years. The society is very vulnerable, coupled with the association and the lacked attention from parents and the environment. Character building, especially in school, has become a hot topic in Indonesia last month after an extreme case of bullying involving a 14 years old schoolgirl. Katerina, 20 and 21, reported that the girl from Pontianak in West Kalimantan province was savagely beaten by several older schoolgirls that she ended up in intensive care for 2 weeks. Her alleged crime was posting on comments on social media about a romantic dispute involving one of the attackers, and the news beating began circulating on social media. KPAI noted that in period of 6 years, the count of school bullying from 2014 to 2019 for bullying in both education and social media, the number reached 2,473 reports, and the trend continues to increase. Indonesian Child Protection Commission or KPAI also reported 4 cases school bullying in 2014. There were 67 cases. In 2015, 93 cases. In 2016, 112 cases. In 2017, 117 cases. In 2018, 161 cases. In 2019, there were 171 cases. And of course, bullying has a negative impact to the students. Dr. Rona Noviks, 2018, stated that the bullying among school children can affect on students' learning and school achievement, not only decreases their academic performance, but also causes mental health problems and physical injury. So how to reducing the occurrence of bullying? Diana, 2019, stated that school personnel should strive to create a climate in which students feel comfortable reporting incident of bullying to adults, both victims and observers. Prevention practices are very helpful in reducing the occurrence of bullying. Besides that, the school must be ready to help students who are victims and give sanction to the bullies. So, after my explanation, we can conclude that bullying among school children is very serious problem because being bullied can affect everything about a child, how they see themselves, their friends, their school, and their future. So, we must generating pupils and teachers awareness about different causes of bullying and finally plan to resolve this important issue. Okay, and here are my reference of my presentation. Thank you. Back to the moderator.
All right, thank you, Sharon Bunga Permata, for your presentation. It was such a great presentation or closing presentation for today's webinar. All right, all participants, we are going to the next session, which is Q&A session. You can put your question on the chat box and please type your question and to whom your question addressed, or you can raise your hand until I allow you to turn on your camera and unmute your audio. We have time until 4:15, and then please give your question and let's have a discussion. All right, we have the first question in here. It is addressed to Shalfi Susanto. For Shalfi Susanto, can you give an example how to handle the bullying, among children as an adult? Because sometimes children are hard to be known. Thank you. All right, for Shalfi Susanto, you are pleased to answer the question.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. And about the example of how to talk to children, I think, like I said before, like I said earlier, how to prevent bullying is by engage a good communication between the children and the adults. And in this case, we can get the example like this. If there are children around us, we can ask them maybe like this: how is your school? How is about your friend? Is your friend good to you? Something like that. So from that we can know that whether whether is the children in a good condition or not. So by knowing their feeling, we can, as an adult, we can prevent the bullying action in to prevent the bullying action, or to prevent that our children becoming a bullies. Is my answer clear?
All right. Thank you, Salvi Susanto, for answering the. All right. Thank you for answering the questions. And then, all right. We still have 2 minutes. If there is a question, you can put on your chat box, or you can raise your hand and then I will allow you. All right. Teh Astri Ainun, you are.
Hello everyone, am I audible?
All right, Teteh.
Okay. Thank you for all the presenters that have already explained about very interesting topic, which is it is relating to our daily life, which is it is intercultural communication. So then there is a question for Winda that uh, for Winda that you have already taught us that how to solve or how to prevent something like racism in our life is that by doing or by having an education and also a clear information about what is racism itself, and also for the bad impact for the racism itself. But if we see the case, for example, that that happened last few years ago, which one of the victim of for racism is George Floyd, that is arrested by police, which is, I think, that the police are the people who are got an education, will get educated. I mean, yeah, like an education about what is racism, and I think that the police know the racism is really a bad gives the bad impact to the society. So I just want to make sure that how a mechanism on educating people and also giving a clear information about racism and stuff, because sometimes people get education but they're not like an educated person, for example. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question, Astrid. But I'm sorry, I cannot get the question because of my internet connection. So maybe, Astrid, you can type on the chat box. I do apologize for that because I lose my connection, or maybe the presenters that is, who is the presenter that is addressed by the questions.
That's for me, Miss Moderator.
Oh, all right, Linda Grizela, you got the point of the question.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, all right. Casio has already sent the question, how the mechanism on educating people to prevent racism. All right, time is your window.
All right. Actually, your voice is not very clear. Asri, I'm so sorry. So I just want to answer as I can. So in my perception, how the mechanism on educating people to prevent racism? Okay, thanks. That really great question because I just present that to prevent racism is by education and information, but not how, right? So, in my perception, we as students, we can do just like a simple thing. We can share information about racism on my social media, on my Snapgram or WhatsApp. So just like that. But to change people mindset is not easy, right? So we just uh, we just have, as I presented before, we just have to change our own mindset first. We have to study deep more about racism, and then we can share it to people. So we just have to understand it first, and then people also will understand by our explanation. So that's just one way, I think, because there's no exactly way to prevent this racism, because mindset of people is really hard to change, because just their own just their own perspective and their own understanding about racism itself. So that's my answer. Thank you. I'm so sorry, Miss Moderator, your mic are on.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you for answering the questions. I hope it can facilitating the question from Teh Asri Aidun. All right, everyone in here, we have already in the end of Q&A session. For whoever that already sent the questions on the chat box, your answer will be delivered by the presenters by into your email. And then I would like to say thanks to all the participants that already joined this webinar. And then I would like to say big thanks to all the gorgeous presenters that already delivered the material. Very gorgeous. All right, I am Aisiti Mardia as your moderator. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And then see you on the next webinar series of Ed Soundsil. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, before uh, before we close this room, please, for the documentation session, the presenters who will be the person who want to take a screenshot, Jiljian ya. Okay, you can lead the documentation session.
Okay, guys, you can turn on your camera if you want some documentation. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and smile. Well, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. See you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
See you on the next webinar.
Hey!
Hore.
Banyak
Saya
sekali
gaya
coba.
berbahas yuk.
Banyak sekali ya problemnya ya kelompok ini.
Insya Allah ya Teh. Oh iya, record. Lupa.